I'm Richelle Martin. I'm the Assistant Director of the Office of Industrial Partnerships here at UW-Madison. And I have the pleasure of being on this panel with two of our industry representatives. So I have got Kevin Duffy from Caterpillar and Gayle Paul from Promega. And so what I'm first going to do is give you an idea of what the Office of Industrial Partnerships is and why we think that research is so important to this campus and research with industry. And so the Office of Industrial Partnerships has been around for a little over 5 years, which really isn't a very long time. But our office was created because it was sort of reactionary. We saw that there had been steadily decreasing state funding and a lot of increased uncertainty in the funding that we were going to get from our federal agencies that we often partner with. And so UW, partially at the behest of our faculty, decided that we needed to create a very specialized office. And so I don't want you guys to think that we're here just because we want to get money from our industry partners. Of course, our relationships are so much more important than that. And I think that Jamie did a great job of explaining one of the other reasons that we think that research with industry is a really important aspect of what we do here. So not only do we obviously get the financial benefit of it, but what we see with our partnerships is that you guys keep us on the cutting edge. So you bring a lot of ideas into the university. You create a lot of new opportunities for us. You create a lot of new opportunities to work with our students. You make sure that we know what is important and that you're keeping us in the right focus. And so OIP was established complementary to our Office of Research and Sponsored Programs, which a lot of you may be more familiar with, which is the federal and nonprofit funding arm. And we wanted to have an office that provided the university with skills and expertise that are unique to working with industry. So industry has a lot of issues that are not found when we work with the federal government. So we are often very sensitive to those differences. We want to be sure that we're addressing things like intellectual property, confidentiality, data ownership, all the while making sure that we are protecting those aspects that are really important to the university, like making sure that we can continue our research, academic use of the data that we develop, and of course publishing our results. And so OIP is centrally located. We have a staff of about 4, and we serve all of the campus units. We are the central point of contact for PIs, for campus offices such as the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation, and for industry. We provide institutional review, negotiation, and signature of a variety of research-related contracts. In our office, our staff of just 4 reviews about 1,800 contracts a year. And so what does that mean on a day-to-day basis? Well, the agreement types that we commonly work on are going to be things like confidentiality agreements, material transfer agreements, which are a really important aspect. Of course, there's no funding related to those, but often we will get materials that we want to use in research that aren't available commercially, and sometimes we'll share those with our industry partners. We also do service agreements, and then of course, kind of the centerpiece of this discussion is going to be research agreements. And so what I have between these two partners with the university are some industry representatives that are going to talk about companies that have experience with all of those different types of agreements here at the university. And they also have worked with a variety of our different schools and colleges, so anything from School of Medicine and Public Health, College of Engineering, School of Pharmacy, College of Agricultural and Life Sciences, School of Veterinary Medicine, and I think that's pretty much the big examples. And so I'm just going to turn it over, I think, to Kevin to talk a little bit about what his experience has been like working with the university.
Okay, well, thank you. So I am the division manager of a group called Energy and Transportation Technology at Caterpillar. It's a group of about 75 engineers based both in the US and in the UK. And really our goal is to develop technology in the engine and powertrain space. So I've got a group of engineers that are engine designers that kind of work on next generation engines. We work on diesel and gas combustion, natural gas combustion, kind of future engine technologies there. We work on advanced controls, different types of fuels that are burned in our engines, and alternative power, batteries, solar, wind, those sorts of things. So the group really is responsible for kind of that 5 to 10 year horizon looking out in the future. Now CAT spends over $2 billion in R&D annually, but unfortunately I don't get to manage all of that in my team. I wish. My slice of that pie is about 20 million or so. And we spend a significant amount on the development side of that equation. So for Caterpillar, we've got about 20 different engines that we work on. We have about 300 different machine types that we work on. And so we have to really work on the next generation of those models to stay competitive. But on the research side, many companies like Caterpillar don't really do a lot of fundamental research. We try to stay more in the applied space. And so we really rely on relationships like we have with Wisconsin to try to make sure we stay on the cutting edge and take advantage kind of the best faculty in the world, the best facilities, and access to the best students really in order to kind of leverage that R&D capability. So we have several strategic alliances really around the world with research institutes and universities. We've been in collaboration with UW-Madison through the Engine Research Center for about 25 years. So that's our longest relationship that we have with a university partner. And our current research collaboration with the ERC is called the Master Sponsored Research Agreement, which was described before. It's an auto-renewing contract that was put in place about 5 years ago. It took us a while to negotiate it in full disclosure, but once it's all set up now, we have a really good working relationship. And there are really only about 5 of those that we have with universities around the world, and the only one we have in the US is with UW-Madison. So on average, we have about 4 to 5 active projects that we work on under this MSRA agreement. And they're really in that area of diesel combustion, kind of engine emissions, those sorts of things. And these projects are really both experimental and numerical, kind of based on the technology and the professors that we have here at the university and we interact with. So our objectives are really to understand kind of the complex nature of diesel combustion processes. Wisconsin has a lot of great simulation capability and a lot of great experimental capability. And we're really trying to just improve our engines to make them more efficient, get better cost, higher power density, and understanding what goes on inside that engine is important. And Wisconsin has really smart people that help us do that. And all that really helps us do is shorten our product development times by interacting with the university rather than trying to do it all ourselves internally. So some of the specific things we've done over the last 20 years, we've donated 2 Caterpillar single-cylinder research engines, which are worth several $1 million to the university, and all the hardware and technical support that takes to kind of keep those engines running. Engineers from my staff come down here several times a year and do seminars at the ERC to talk about challenges and projects that they're working on and really try to build those relationships with the staff and the students. So based on kind of that best practice that we have with university governance across all these different groups we work with, we have 4 project review meetings annually. 2 of them are face-to-face, one here and one down in Peoria. And then we come here once a year to do an overall kind of project management team meeting to really kind of steer the direction of where the program goes. And we kind of update it every year and look for new projects that we want to work on and kind of modify that on an annual basis. The face-to-face review meetings really serve as a good way to introduce students as well. They come down to Peoria, they see our research facilities, they interact with my staff and really get to know them well, and that a lot of times ends up leading to internships and things like that and really helps that pipeline for us to recruit them. So we've had really good success if we look back over the last 25 years in executing this particular agreement. We've learned a lot about crazy things called reactivity controlled compression ignition, a lot of crazy things like that, gasoline compression ignition, pretty technical things. We really haven't yet been able to more broadly leverage kind of U.S. government funding opportunities, and that's something we're really looking to do more with. There's a lot of money in the DOE and places like that, that if you have a good partnership with the university and a large company, you can really take advantage of that and build some good collaboration. And in fact, I'm meeting with one of the professors later today to talk about maybe getting involved in one of those types of activities. So our experience generally is that it costs us roughly half to do a project with University of Madison, Wisconsin, than it does with other U.S. universities. And that's a pretty big number. And really the reason is because we're building on that momentum of 25 years of working together. We know the professors. We can quickly get involved in projects. There's a trust level there that's been built up over the years. And we can really leverage all of that technology and all the equipment that we've helped to build up in the university. So it's a great relationship. So we're proud really to be working with what we think is the best university in the world in this kind of engine combustion, dual fuel, gas, diesel engine combustion, and we hope to have another really good, successful 20 years working with you guys.
Great. Thank you. And I know that I have seen quite a few of the Caterpillar agreements coming across my desk recently, and I think that the master agreement is just a great example of one of the ways that we really strive to make sure that we are sort of reducing the administrative burden that companies are going to face when they're coming to do research at the university. So I'm really glad that you brought that up as an example. And I know that Gayle has a few different examples of different ways that we've been able to successfully work with Promega as well.
Good afternoon. My name is Gayle Paul, and I'm the Director of Human Resources Operations at Promega. I've been with Promega for 18 and a half years and spent the majority of my time there in human resources and employee relations. I'm speaking on behalf of our organization today on some of the ventures that we have with UW, so bear with me as I try to explain some of the areas that are a little bit more out of my realm, a little more on the science side. For those of you not familiar with Promega, we are a life sciences and biotech company in Fitchburg. We were founded by Bill Linton in 1978. We're a privately held biotech, and Bill remains the president, chairman, and CEO of the company. So throughout the last 40 years, as the company was looking for what comes next or standing on the edge of science, we continuously look for ways to connect with the UW and to learn and grow from those connections. We've established some really deep and long relationships in the scientific discovery side, and also more recently, some more unique connections in manufacturing and mindfulness. We're appreciative of the UW's receptive spirit to explore and collaborate together. So our relationship with the UW actually began with Bill. While attending the UW, he saw a need for enzymes. So some scientists were trying to create or find and weren't able to get them. So he started creating some of these enzymes and bringing them to the UW, hence the beginning of Promega. So I think Bill's one of those examples that Susan LaBelle was talking about earlier, about entrepreneurs that develop and come out of the UW. I think he's been a great example of that. So Promega was a part in the effort of getting the original biotechnology program started here at the UW and the grant programs as well. Since then, the UW and Promega scientists have explored the use of new Promega tools and techniques and some of the discovery work done here. And this work has been around a breadth of areas in microbiology, from protein analysis, cancer studies, and stem cell studies, some of the areas. Promega is also a manufacturer, so some people think of us as a research company creating new products, but we also manufacture the majority of our products right here in Madison. So we've established some new relationships. Most recently, we collaborated with the Quick Response Manufacturing Center here on campus to develop an office and shop floor cell for custom order fulfillment. So custom orders of our products have become an increasingly large part of our business. Our goal is to reduce lead times for custom product requests. We've had one student project and are planning 2 more in this area. So we did a bunch of remodeling actually at our Biotechnology Institute location, and that's meant to help us create this custom cell. So our stretch goal out of this project is to reduce our lead times from 20 days to 5 days for our custom products. And we believe that this will really make us a market leader in that area. So it's been a great partnership with the UW and working on that. Another area that we've made connections that really directly affect and reflect our culture is in mindfulness. So we feel that mindfulness and social and emotional intelligence is really a core to your business. We've actually, over the last year, created a department inside Promega that's directly responsible for that initiative. So we've dedicated resources to it. I know Richie Davidson's name came up earlier today, and forgive me, I don't remember which conversation it was in, but in the early 90s, Richie Davidson did a study around mindfulness meditation and the impact on stress reduction in the workplace. Promega participated in that study, and John Kabat-Zinn came in to do some of those teachings to Promega employees. So there was, as part of the study, there was a group of employees that were directly taught by John Kabat-Zinn, and then there was a group that were self-taught. They were given direction, but did it on their own. So this was a pretty big research project that this work is still highly cited today. And was really the beginning of mindfulness for us at Promega, the introduction to it. We're back at work actually in this area with the UW. So we're working with the Center for Healthy Minds at the UW and Healthy Minds Innovations. So right now, Promega, we have about 75 employees that are part of a group that are beta testing a new app called Tend. So this is designed to measure and cultivate well-being and is developed by top researchers and teachers in the field. The content has been created for the app, and so we're getting the opportunity to get a sneak peek at this app, to listen to these teachings, and then to give direct feedback. So there's feedback after each teaching. And so not only are we assisting in the development of the content, but our employees are also learning and growing from it. So these are just a few examples of how we've worked with the UW. We all at Promega really realize what a great resource we have right next door to us, so we look forward to continued ventures.
Great, thank you very much for that. I think that also brings up another point of just how collaborative the university really likes to be with its industry partners. And I think that we have a few minutes to answer some questions, so if anyone did want to take advantage of that. Also, the Office of Industrial Partnerships is also going to be available from 3:30 to 5 in the exhibit hall. I think we're going to be in the back to the left of the stage, so if you don't get a chance to ask a question now, we will be available for you later.
I have a question. How do you, what indicators are you using that mindfulness is working for you in doing that tracking?
That's an excellent question. You know what, our philosophy is we're not necessarily at this point doing research on here's where people are before, here's where people are after. It's really that we feel it's so important from a self-development perspective. We do get a lot of feedback from our employees that some of the programs that we have are helping them both personally and professionally. So we're using that feedback at this point as really a place, but for us it's just a core principle, like any other principle.
I think it's been really great because we also, my colleague Jessica is here and she could speak firsthand to how we've implemented mindfulness in our office here on campus. And I think that we've had a really great response to it too.
How many of the examples that you provided are built into course curriculum and how many are separate research intern opportunities? If you could break it out in general applications.
Sure. So I think it comes down to really who is participating in that project. And so what we most often are going to see with industry sponsors are when they're going to come in and they're going to work primarily with a particular faculty member. And so there's really two ways that research kind of comes into the university. And one is through a lot of personal connections. So it might be a researcher was presenting at a conference and met up with somebody who discussed a really great idea that they had. They decide that they want to collaborate. Or it could be what we like to call our front door, which is the Office of Corporate Relations. And so, there's these two different ways. And usually that's how we have a faculty member involved in a research project. Now that faculty member might be working with graduate students. And so we might have some students in that capacity. They also do have an employment role here at the university. And so, it kind of depends on what the needs of that particular project are. We love getting our students involved because we think it's just a really great way to add to their education and also give them real-world experience and develop those relationships with companies for when they graduate. Now, we do have other programs. Sometimes they're kind of like a senior thesis program where we might have some undergraduate students who are going to be undertaking some research as part of their course curriculum. That is a little bit different, because the undergraduate students don't often have an employment role here at the university. And so the obligations that they have to the university are a little bit different, but also our level of control that we have over those students is a little bit different. And so some of the great examples of that would be like our College of Engineering, where they work very closely with companies on a senior thesis project. And we typically do let the students engage with companies on their own. We're also very careful to protect their rights to academic freedom. We want to make sure that they're going to have the continuing ability to use whatever information they develop in that thesis project in their future. We want them to be able to talk about it too. We don't want them to do this whole project, go to a job interview, not be able to discuss it. So we are very sensitive to the needs of the students in that aspect. But as far as the university's particular legal involvement in those relationships, it is pretty limited. Is that time for us? All right, thanks very much.